Hi, welcome to a little bit of Calm and Crazy. My name is Jennifer, and today I'm excited to share with you 5 new Dollar Tree DIYs. If you saw my fall home tour, you would have seen a sneak peek of all 5 of these, and I am so excited to be able to share with you how I created them. If you are new, welcome. I'm glad that you are here. If you love DIYs, budget decor, and Dollar Tree, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And let's go ahead and get right on into it. For the first project, I am taking 2 of these wooden pumpkins and I will be painting them with some Waverly chalk paint. For the first pumpkin, I chose to use Agave. It's a beautiful blue color. So first I go ahead and I remove the raffia bow, and then I do a light sanding on it just to get some of that sheen off of it, that top coating, so that the paint will really adhere to it. This is probably not a necessary step, but it's one I went ahead and took just for extra precaution. Because my video would not be complete without some painting, here you go. I did paint this complete pumpkin, the front and the back. I gave it 2 coats just to make sure that it was completely covered. Once the paint has completely dried, I am going in with a black and white, whether you call it gingham or buffalo check. I'm going in with this ribbon. I've had it for a while, but you can get something like this easily at like Walmart or Hobby Lobby. Let me know, do you say buffalo check? Do you say ribbon? And what ribbon? I mean gingham. And what is the difference? Honestly, I don't even know. To finish off this pumpkin, I just have a couple of these wooden stickers that I also got from Dollar Tree. If you have a hard time finding these, you might be able to find the ones from Target Dollar Spot. They also have some really cute wooden stickers. Either way, I just grabbed a couple of these, used some hot glue, attached them onto the bottom of the pumpkin, and it is done. And I think it is so cute. And let me show you how I went ahead and I completed the second pumpkin. This time I went in with Waverly's chalk paint in white. I only did 1 coat because I just needed to give it a good base coat so that when I went in with this buffalo check wrapping paper, my edges and back would be covered in the white, and then I just use a little bit of Mod Podge in order to adhere the wrapping paper onto the pumpkin. Now once I place that down, I just smooth it out to get out any of the bubbles. You don't have to have wrapping paper. You can use like scrapbook paper or even print something off from your computer if that is easier for you. Now, here's the thing. I really love the technique of using the sandpaper in order to get the extra paper off. I think it does a really great job, but you do need to make sure that you wait until after your Mod Podge dries. But if you want to go in with scissors or a craft knife, go ahead and do that. You do whatever you prefer to do. For those of you who are interested in trying the sandpaper technique, first, you want to make sure that you are using a pretty gritty sandpaper. So this is a 60 grit sandpaper that I am using. You also want to make sure that you can either go back and forth or you can move away from your paper, but you never want to bring it towards the paper because that will lift your paper up. And then you will find that your paper will just kind of start peeling off. You just got to have a tiny bit of patience, and that is it. And then you will find that you have a nice, clean, smooth edge in the end. For this pumpkin, I did decide to go ahead and keep the raffia bow that I removed at the beginning, and I just hot glued that back in place. I think the combination of the raffia bow with the buffalo check looks really cute. I love how both of these pumpkins turned out. They are like the perfect little accents, and they are so easy to do. To the next project. So here I have this huge roll of buffalo check ribbon that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I can't believe for $5, it's 75 feet of ribbon. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this into little banners, and I am making the cutest little garland to go on my little fence. I'm going to link that video for you if you've created this, but if you aren't interested in doing the fence, this banner of course would look really cute like on a mirror or something like that, or you can make it even larger and place it somewhere else in your home. I only need 5 pieces of the buffalo check ribbon to cut out. I cut them in kind of more of a square shape, and now I'm cutting the little ducktail end. All I do is fold the ribbon in half, and then from the pointed side or the folded side, oh goodness, I take the ribbon from the top and I cut down towards the yeah, good thing you can see what I'm doing because, wow, I explained that well. I continue to cut that little V shape or ducktail out of the remaining ribbon that I have. I do find it easier to actually start at the little point or the open point where the two folds come together and then cut up towards the folded side. There, I said it. Got it out. So to attach it to my fence, I'm just going to use some twine. Now, it's easier for me to make sure that I have it right in the center if I go ahead and attach the twine to the fence first. You don't have to do it this way. I just find it the easiest way. So I'm going ahead and I'm just knotting and wrapping my twine around the fence because I don't want to permanently adhere the twine to this fence. I love to use it for all the different seasons. But if you are putting this on anything that you do want to keep it on permanently, of course you can use some hot glue if you'd like. I find the center point of the twine, and that is where I'm gluing down my first ribbon, my first buffalo check ribbon. Now you can also use ribbon at the Dollar Tree. If you have another ribbon, of course, that you like better and you don't want to use the buffalo check, by all means use some Dollar Tree ribbon. But I'm going in and I'm hot gluing it to the ribbon to the top of the twine. You want to make sure that you do that so that your ribbon will actually hang once the garland is done being created. Now, in between the ribbon, I want to add some burlap, and I'm using the darker brown burlap that comes out at fall at Dollar Tree. But again, use whichever burlap you want to use. I am taking the burlap and I'm cutting it in half because I want it to be thinner. And then I am folding that over the twine and using some more twine in order to secure that onto the garland. I continue the same thing with another piece of burlap on the other side of the ribbon. And then after that, I just continue to alternate between the ribbon and the burlap. Altogether, I have 5 pieces of the ribbon, and I end with the ribbon at the very top. That's how I wanted to flank or to, however I want to word that. I just wanted to end in the ribbon. That's exactly how I'm going to word it. So that's the last thing that I put on there. Just using hot glue to continue to attach the ribbon and a piece of twine to attach the burlap. For my little fall sign, I'm going in with these larger craft sticks that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I love these, but they're not easy to find. They're probably easier to find at Walmart, but if you happen to see them at Dollar Tree, grab them. I'm using a total of 4 sticks for this entire project, 3 sticks in order to create this sign, and then a 4th stick just to add a little bit more security. So originally I was going in and I was just cutting off the tip with scissors, and either I don't have very strong scissors or these are just really strong sticks, but I've seen people do that, but it wasn't going to work for me. So what I ended up doing was scoring the sticks with using a craft or a box cutter first so that I could get a nice score, and then I cut them with my scissor. If you use one of the like hacksaws, you can pick a hacksaw up at Dollar Tree. That is another way to cut these. They really do cut off really easily. Just don't go straight in with your scissors. Once I cut off the little rounded edge on all of these, I did go in and sand the edges just to smooth them out a little bit to make sure that the edges weren't splintering or rough. With the last stick, I needed it to be trimmed down so that it would not stick out over the width of the other 3 sticks when they were lined up together. So I just marked them off with my pencil and then again went in with the ruler and the box cutter to score that out, and then back in with my scissors to cut that off. And I did 2 of those smaller pieces. After that, I went in with some hot glue in order to attach all the sticks together. You could use wood glue if you wanted to, but the hot glue worked just fine, just adding some hot glue on the back of these smaller pieces, and it was just as easy. To paint this, I went in with Waverly's chalk paint and ink, but you could also use an acrylic paint if you choose to. So I fully covered it in the chalk paint, I set it aside, and then I let it dry. And then I decided I was going to try to freehand. So I penciled out the word fall because it's a fairly straight word. I thought, well, I could do this. And I even struggled with a word as simple as fall. So those of you who have great penmanship, oh, bless your heart. I wish I was you, but I am not one of those people. And that is why you will see so many different tips and tricks of ways around me ever freehanding anything. But here was my effort. It turned out okay, but I will probably never try this again. After that embarrassing attempt of trying to write 4 simple letters, I'm going in with Waverly's chalk paint in white and a tiny little detail brush because I don't have a paint pen or a chalk marker. Nope, I'm going in with a teeny tiny little brush and doing a teeny tiny little paint at a time in order to paint out these letters. So I am making this project as complicated as possible for myself. This is definitely one of those times as please do as I say and not as I do, and just get yourself a paint pen. Life would be so much easier than having to use this teeny tiny little paintbrush to do this. I finally got my letters painted, and thank goodness it really did come together, and I think it is really cute, but boy, it was a lot of work. In order to attach the sign to the fence, I'm just hot gluing a pipe cleaner onto the back of the sign. I just took one pipe cleaner, cut it in half, and then I am hot gluing it to each end of the sign, and then I can just twist that right around the little pickets of the fence, and then it will not be permanently attached. I decided to go ahead and soften up my paint job just a little bit by taking a fine grit sandpaper. This is 220, and just gently sanding over my word fall, how I painted it, and having the white blend into the black just a little bit more and softening up those edges. And I think that added little touch really did make the difference and didn't make my freehand look quite so bad. And now all I have to do is attach the sign onto the picket fence, and it is ready to go. I think this looks so cute, and it really was easy. I mean, the worst part really was trying to freehand, and next time I know I am just not that person, so I just won't do it again. I love how this turned out, and I'm so glad that I have this fence to decorate for all the seasons. So this may be one of my favorite projects. Now I'm going to work on some no-sew, no-glue fabric pumpkins. So here's some fabric that I picked up at Walmart. It's $4. These are 2 yards each, but you can also use some items that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to share a Dollar Tree scarf with you, a Dollar Tree scarf option with you as well. I am sharing 2 different ways to create these no-sew, no-glue fabric pumpkins. So for the first way, I'm using these orange styrofoam pumpkins that you can grab from Dollar Tree. And all you have to do is cut out a little bit on the top, and I use the center stem to kind of help guide. And I just cut out a square. It's the easiest thing to do is to cut a straight line. I use a box cutter to do that, but you could also use your craft knife. And if you're feeling a little adventurous and dangerous, you could probably go in with scissors or possibly even a kitchen knife, whatever tool you have on hand. You can see that I have a piece of fabric that is cut about 5 or even 6 inches wider than the pumpkin. I just eyeballed it, made sure that it was wide enough that I could use it to cover my pumpkin. So I start by taking one corner and stuffing it into the hole, and then the opposite corner, and then I move to the other 2 sides and I do the same thing. I stuff them in the hole. So the biggest, most important thing is to make sure that your hole is large enough that you can get all of your fabric inside, and then you just bring up your fabric and you stuff it in, and you make sure that your pleating as you stuff is the way that you want it, and there you have it, a super easy base. Now here is the Dollar Tree scarf that I was telling you about. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scarf and I'm going to fold it in half. I don't want to cut it. I'm just going to fold it in half, and I'm going to overlap it just ever so slightly, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to take 2 sides, fold one side in first, then the other side, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing with their perpendicular sides. Luckily, you can see what I'm saying because sometimes verbalizing is a lot harder than visualizing. So for the second kind of pumpkin, all you need is toilet paper. Now, this whole roll of toilet paper is just $1, so each pumpkin comes out to 25 cents. And you're going to do exactly the same thing with each roll of toilet paper. You're going to lay it on your square of fabric, and then you're going to bring your fabric up and stuff it in the hole. And the same thing goes with that buffalo check scarf. You're going to bring it up and stuff it in the hole, and then you can just kind of fluff it up around the edges in order to create the shape of the pumpkin that you want. Only thing I need now are some stems. So I went out into my yard, actually not even my yard. I went kind of across the street, found a good tree that had lost a good branch, and I am using that branch because it is free, and I clipped those twigs and just stuffed them in, and it was the perfect stem for all of these, and these were so quick and so easy, and I absolutely love the way that they turned out, and I hope that you like these too. The fun thing is that you can change up the fabric to coordinate with your decor, or you even may have a sweater lying around that you can use. I know that is what my friend chose to do. She had an old sweater that matched her decor, and so that was something she already had on hand. So use what you have. I just love these. For my next project, I'm using this metal pumpkin yard sign. I needed a little pumpkin sign to go with my fabric pumpkin, so I took this outside and I used this aluminum spray paint in order to spray paint it. And boy, did I have to work fast on this particular day. We had a thunderstorm, and believe it or not, this, even though it was not out in the rain, still got a little bit wet. It left me with a texture, but that is okay. In the end, it all works out. I am now going in with Waverly's chalk paint and ink to paint the inside of the pumpkin and create a chalkboard. I actually prefer to use regular chalk paint to create chalkboards. Not only do I like the look of it, but it also saves me a little bit of money. Once that had time to set up and dry, I am now going in with Waverly's chalk paint in elephant as well as white, and I will be using the Waverly Wax and Antique. And I'm using just a really cheap makeup sponge, and I'm alternating first elephant and white and going around where I still have the aluminum showing, and I'm just kind of dabbing. Some areas I'll have it a little bit heavier, other areas will be a little bit wider. As you will see as I go, I will also kind of dab off on my paper on the side so that I don't have like a big glob anywhere. But if I have to, I use my finger in order to kind of rub it in. I use the sponge in order to rub it in. You want that depth where some of it looks a little bit lighter, some of it looks a little bit darker. The very first time I did this was on like a Trash to Treasure a couple of weeks ago, and I was intimidated by it. But now it is one of my favorite techniques, and this time I really found it was pretty quick. So once I got the elephant and the white on there, I then went in with the wax. This is what gives it that rust look, and I only take the wax on the edges. And I build that up again, some areas a little heavier and some areas a little bit lighter, because that's more what rust would look like. And I do take it on the inner rim of the pumpkin as well as the outer rim of the pumpkin. I hope that's making some sense as you're watching all of this. But I just think that this is such a fun technique, and I think that this turned out so well. So once I let all the paint dry, I did go in with a piece of chalk and I seasoned the black chalk paint and left that on there. I let it just sit overnight and left it alone. And then the next day I went in and wiped it off, and now I can write on it. And I shouldn't have the halo stay behind. This makes it work like a real chalkboard once you season it. And I think it is so cute, and I love how it looks with my fabric pumpkins. I think it looks a little bit high end if I am tooting my own horn at the moment. I just love it. Absolutely love it. The last project that I'm doing, I'm using the Give Thanks sign from Dollar Tree, but what's so great about this project is you really could use any of the signs that they have to recreate the exact same project. For the base of the sign, I'm going in with Waverly's chalk paint in crystal. Again, I would choose a color that would match your decor. I'm just giving it a nice coat, only a single coat, and it actually is going to look a little bit patchy when I am done, and that is okay. You'll see in the end, I actually was going for a little bit of a distressed look, so don't worry about it. It'll be okay. So here's what it looks dried after just one coat. If it really does bother you, you can always add a second coat. Now I'm going in with a ruler and a Sharpie and adding in lines to create shiplap. If you want to use
something other than a Sharpie, you can, but a Sharpie really gives a nice clean line, and it is my favorite way to do this. It's so easy. So once I finished up with the Sharpie, I did go in with a fine grit sandpaper. This is a 220 sandpaper, and it helps to just soften up that Sharpie line and to tone down my splotchy paint job as well. So I pulled out my wooden letters from Dollar Tree. I have several left over from past projects. I was actually inspired from Target Dollar Spot to do this. They have a package that said pumpkin patch, and I thought, you know what? I already have the letters on hand. Let me use what I have. And then I pulled out my wooden stickers to finish this off. Again, if you have a hard time finding these, you can get the ones from Target Dollar Spot as well. Those are two different options for you. For most of these, I'm going in with Waverly's Wax and Antique, and this is where things turn bad, you guys. I'm sorry that it is so blurry. My camera just wasn't focused, and I didn't realize it, but I painted 3 of the pumpkins in this Waverly's Wax and all of the letters, and it gives it more of a stain than a paint, but I will not torture you any longer. For the last 2 pumpkins, I went in with Apple Barrel's white acrylic paint. Again, it's a little bit blurry. I just went in with a really light coat on each one of those with a really kind of fluffy brush. I didn't want it to be too heavy. And again, I'm so sorry that it's blurry. The last part of it that's blurry is I'm showing you how I created the banner by tying a piece of twine on. I'm first doing knots on the end of the twine and hot gluing that to the back. I did the knots just to give the hot glue a little bit more surface area to attach to. I took the exact same buffalo check ribbon that I used in the earlier project, cut out teeny tiny little triangles, and that is what I'm hot gluing onto the banner. Now, to make sure that the banner is staying where I want it to stay, I am using a little bit of hot glue and securing that in specific places. First starting in the middle, and then I'm pulling it down on both sides and securing that down. And then I go back in and I add in my little bitty triangles. Luckily, I know you can still see it even though it's blurry, but this was too cute not to show you. So once I got all my banner pieces attached with a little bit more hot glue, now it's time to attach my pumpkins and my letters. I placed the 3 stained looking pumpkins down on the bottom first, and then I placed the 2 white pumpkins on top of them. And so the hot glue is just going on the sides because they are not touching the bottom. Thank goodness we're not blurry anymore, so you can see how I did the letters. So pumpkin is a little bit curved and patch is straight. Anytime I glue anything down, I always like to start typically in the center and work my way out when it is straight, and that is what you can see here on patch. But with pumpkin, again, I do start in the center, but because it is curved, I actually then move to the end because I want to make sure that I put the curve the way that I want it. So I did the N and the P, and then I can fill in with the other letters and keeping the curve the way that I need to. And again, I am so glad that you can visually see what I'm talking about because sometimes, again, it is so hard to actually explain things. The last thing I did was to take this black and white gingham buffalo check ribbon and tie a couple of little bows and then hot glue them to the white pumpkins. I love how the bows tie together with the banner. I think it looks so cute. I absolutely adore this sign, and I knew I had to share it with you even though I had some technical difficulties. I would love to know which of these 5 projects is your favorite. So leave that for me in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a big thumbs up so that I know and I can create more videos like this. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my future uploads, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!